Good morning, everybody. Welcome to November 8th, the U.S. presidential elections. I am wearing my Election Day sweater with the American flag on it. I want to welcome everybody to What's Hot Now here at MarketStream.live. My name is Joe Cusick with the Cusick Group, securities provided by MoneyBlock. The market right now is a little bit on the downside. We're seeing that there's a little bit of rest while we wait the impact, influence, outcome of this presidential election, unprecedented in many ways. So I thought this morning, while we could go over some of the earnings announcements, Valiant, one of them, a pharmaceutical company that's been in the news a lot in the last year, getting slammed down about 26%. We could talk a little bit about the bonds and how they're upticking right now in price, a little bit of the safe haven trade coming back. Markets down in the red with the S&Ps, the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000 down slightly on the open. But I thought what might be more useful is really to talk a little bit about some stocks, sectors and stocks that you could now put on your watch list today. Watch these for today, tomorrow, going in after we find out who is elected, not only president, but who's going to be elected to Congress, Senate, looking at your local races and seeing how those influences are going to impact your potential portfolio choices. So I thought, why not look at and expand on a Clinton victory and a Trump victory? What's going to get the biggest jolt, as we called it last night in the closing bell? So I want to start with the Clinton victory. What are some of the companies that could get a big jolt? What are the sectors that could get a big jolt? And we're going to stay on the lines of positive. Could be positive to the upside based on their platform that they put out there during this presidential cycle, what we've been reading online and interpreted from all of the other different entities. These are some of the areas that you could start taking a look at. First one, if Clinton wins, is you're going to look at alternative energy. Couple names that you can put out there. There's no ETF that trades, so there's no large sector ETF that you can look at. But with her platform and basically what she's promoted with having the Bernie Sanders campaign now endorsing her, obviously clean energy is going to be something that everyone's going to be looking at if she wins. Clean Energy Fuels is going to be a stock that you can look at, ticker symbol CLNE. CRE is going to be a semi-stock that's in a lot of these industrial lighting and so forth. It emits a lot less heat. So that's another one, ticker symbol CREE. And First Solar, FSLR, a solar play. And again, these are the alternative energy names that you can start putting on your watch list as we get closer to finding out if, in fact, Clinton wins. Managed care and hospital names are going to come up. You could take a look at an ETF, IHF. That's the U.S. healthcare providers. Obviously, it sounds like Hillary, the Clinton campaign is going to propose almost double downing on Obamacare. IHF basically has the top 10 holdings in there are 60% of this ETF. Names like Aetna, ticker symbol AET, or Universal Health Services, ticker symbol UHS. You can work backwards and look at these major ETFs, get a feel for them, put them on your watch list, and then you can start looking at the names that make up those ETFs. Those two names are two of the top 10 names in there. And like I said, 60% of that ETF is made up of basically 10 stocks. Defensive stocks would also be in play and get a potential jolt from a Clinton victory. ITA is the iShares U.S. Aerospace and Defense ETF. And that is something that you can put on your watch list. There, obviously she's looking to potentially expand some of the defense components. And again, looking at her platform, some of the names that are also represented in this ETF that could get a jolt from a Clinton presidency could be Boeing, BA, or Rockwell Collins, ticker symbol COL. Some infrastructure names and companies could get some jolt from a Clinton presidency. Take a look at XLI, that's the ETF that tracks the industrial sector. And then names like GE, 3M, Honeywell, UPS, and Union Pacific are all going to be names that could have a jolt if Clinton gets in, and they are infrastructure companies, especially with a lot of the infrastructure plays that are going to be laid out by the Clinton campaign. Export-orientated companies, ExxonMobil, Apple, Ford, General Motors, and Intel are the most notable ones, largest capped. Those are the names that could really benefit from a continued embracement of open trade and so forth. Consumer staples, looking at companies that are represented in the XLP, this is the Consumer Staples ETF. So names like Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, CVS, Altera Group, and Walmart. These are all consumer staple names that you should have on your radar, and you can use XLP as an ETF that you can use to track the general market. The Mexican peso, we've already seen that it has benefited from the most recent headlines over the last 24 hours, but the Mexican peso could continue. And take a look at EWW, that's the ETF that tracks Mexican stocks. It's very liquid, it has an options market. You could take a look at that too for some possible jolt. And then the major stock indices, the impact long term is going to be mixed, but initially we saw the move yesterday. The market moved across the board over 2% to the upside when it became more apparent that the probabilities are increasing towards the Clinton presidency. It's not a lock. We all have to vote. That's why I'm wearing this flag. People have lost their lives and fought for that, and I respect that. So at the end of the day, I think the major indices have shown what they think about this. What's going to be interesting, though, is if all of a sudden we start to see some of these congressional and senatorial races start to flip. If we actually see that there's no longer a House divided and that we actually see one party potentially taking complete power, that could shift the major stock indices and the perception by Wall Street. I hate using that term, but the perception of the markets. And so we're going to watch that closely. Now let's switch gears and say, all right, what happens if Donald Trump has a victory? What could potentially have a jolt? Biotechs. IBB is the biotech ETF. Take a look at that. Names like Amgen, Gilead, Biogen, Celgene, Regeneron, all names that are represented in the IBB, which is the ETF that tracks biotechs. Obviously, with Trump proposing to scrap Obamacare and so forth, that could be interesting. Major pharmaceutical companies like Gilead, Bayer, AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and Pfizer all could get a jolt with a Trump presidency. Traditional oil and gas companies, Chevron and Exxon being the two most notable, but that could be mixed because there could be some export issues. Those are two large exporters, so we'll keep an eye on that. Aerospace, again, look at ITA, Boeing, Rockwell Collins, going to be the two notable ones. And then infrastructure plays. Take a look at XLI. Again, GE, 3M, Honeywell, UPS, and UMP, Union Pacific. Banks could also be a major beneficiary in the financial sector. Specifically, XLF is where you can start, and then take a look at the traditionals. JPM, Chase, Bank of America, BAC, Citigroup, ticker symbol C, and then Wells Fargo. You can also look at telecommunication technology companies, but that have large cash holdings overseas. Names like Apple, Facebook could be the most notable one. So this is where you could put your election day watch list now together. We're going to drill down over the next 24, 48 hours and longer about these names, about these sectors as we get closer to who is actually going to get in. It's going to be a long night, hunker down, but that's why we're here today. At 1:30 Eastern time, I will jump on and I will look at strategy now. We're going to take a look at what's going on, maybe look at some initial poll results, see what's going on, get the sentiment, get the pulse, and see what the strategy is going into the midday and then the rest of this trading day. So join us at 1:30 Eastern time on Strategy Now. Till then, have a great rest of the trading day. Go out and exercise your right to vote. Take care.